Hello, everyone. What's up? It's me again. So I normally don't make this kind of video, like a very subjective video, but um, I figure, I've been playing a lot of Last Epoch for the last week, and I kind of wanted to do a short little video to talk about my experiences playing the game. Just kind of an unstructured, very subjective, like how I felt about my experience playing Last Epoch. So yeah, I'll give this kind of video a shot. Let me know what you think about this kind of like free form, just like opinionated video format. So yeah, I've been playing Last Epoch for, about 200 hours now. Um, I took a Chthonic Fissure character to level 100. That was my first level 100 ever. And, I cleared all the dungeons. I did empowered monoliths. I farmed, all my blessings. I farmed as good gear as I could basically farm. Here is some footage of the build doing one of the dungeons. This is like a lightless arbor, like tier 3 or something. And yeah, this is not my VTuber avatar. This is Luna, an AI that hangs out on my stream. So yeah, just ignore that. Uh, but yeah, my plans originally were to basically stream Last Epoch until the new Path of Exile League, which is gonna come out in like 3-4 weeks or so. And I think that may not happen because I found that I very quickly got bored of Last Epoch. Here we have like a boss fight in one of the dungeons. Um, I think the game was pretty interesting up until like the 150 to 100 hour mark, but at the end of the day, I found that the end game didn't really have too much to offer. I felt like I was just like running echoes and monoliths over and over again, and on the off chance that I drop like a 1 LP or 2 LP unique item that's good, maybe I would do a Temporal Sanctum and kill Julra and try to gamble and maybe make a really good legendary. But I feel like that was basically all I was doing. And I also didn't really find any other builds other than this one, which is Chthonic Fissure, to play. I tried out a bunch of different skills, but a lot of the skills felt kind of outdated. And either the, quality of life just wasn't there, or it just didn't clear very well, or it was kind of annoying or clunky to play. Um, and I think that's one of my biggest, I think those two are just my biggest, complaints about the game, that, some skills and mechanics kind of feel very slow and awkward. And there's a lack of things to do in the end game other than like run monos over and over again. So yeah, I'm not sure I'll be playing Last Epoch anymore, at least this cycle. I think I may give it another try in the next cycle if there's like interesting new skills, or if there's like, some kind of new characters, or, something that's like interesting to do in the end game besides like run monos over and over again, basically. So yeah. But I think like despite that, I think there's also a lot of other things that the game does do pretty well. Like some of the new skills I think are pretty cool. The most cool of which is this one, Chthonic Fissure. It's just like a screen wide AoE skill that auto targets and like clears everything automatically. And I thought that was a lot of fun. And also this Ghost Flame skill, which allows you to move while channeling and do a damage over time effect that also has other interesting mechanics as well. So I feel like the game is like on a good path in terms of like skill design. I feel like the new skills are interesting. I just hope that they either rebalance all the old skills or they just overhaul them completely and add a bunch of new skills that are as fun as Ghost Flame and Chthonic Fissure. And I think that could be like, like the future of ARPG skill design, like really interesting skills like this. That's like one thing the game does do well. I think another thing that the game does well is crafting. The crafting in this game is like very deterministic, and I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, some people don't like the forging potential thing. I'm trying to find a clip of me actually crafting here. I don't know if I'll be able to find one. I don't think I did too much crafting this stream, but you basically have this system where you have like 4 affixes on each item, and you have this forging potential, which is like a representation of how many crafts you can do, basically. And I thought that was like a pretty interesting little mini game, managing your forging potential and trying to get like as many crafts as you could like on one item. I thought that was fairly interesting. And I really liked how deterministic the crafting was. Like, it's so easy to like add exactly the affixes that you want to an item. And it's also very easy to upgrade the tiers. And then you have interesting mechanics as well, like sealing an item, which is like fracturing it in Path of Exile, but like moving it to its own slot. You have targeted annuls, targeted upgrades, upgrade and change to a random mod. I thought that was fairly interesting. And I also thought it was cool that you could like shatter items to get the mods back. Like you can, if you have a really rare mod like Level of Chthonic Fissure, you can shatter that and then you can use those shards to craft on another item. I thought that was like pretty nice. And I kind of wish to some degree that the Path of Exile crafting system, at least in SSF, was more deterministic as well. I think that'd be cool. So crafting in this game, I enjoyed a lot actually. But then there's this other aspect that I also want to talk about, which is like the scarcity of resources. And this is kind of interesting because in Path of Exile, like you drop a lot of bases, but most of your scarcity is like currency, right? Like you always need more divine orbs, exalted orbs, right? You always need more annulments, you need more like essences. Like you just can never have enough like essence of contempt or something, right? Whereas in this game, it's like a little bit different. In this game, it's like the bases are the thing that's rare. Like sometimes I'll go just a lot of monos without even dropping like the right base at all. And then when it finally does drop, it's like, a low roll of forging potential, or like it has mods that are not ideal or like not high tier. So the chances that you get something good from that base are like not that high. And I thought that was like a little bit disappointing. Like I thought that it was kind of disappointing that I had to farm a bunch of monos just for the chance to get a base that was workable. And then when I did get one, it felt kind of RNG. Like after a certain point, like once you make a good enough item, the chances that you can make an upgrade are very like low, I guess. So yeah, there's that. I just thought that was like interesting to mention. Like the scarcity of resources in this game is a lot different from Path of Exile. So yeah. And then another aspect that about this game that I have questionable feelings about is like the ability to just like turn off your brain and farm. And in a game like Path of Exile, you can basically farm on any build for any build, right? Like any build in Path of Exile has exactly the same loot table, right? And, any currency that you make on one build, you can use to craft another build. But in this game, it's a little bit different. And the main reason it's different is because of the affinity system. I don't know what to exactly call it, but in this game, there's like 5 different classes. And whatever class you're playing, you have a much higher chance to drop items of that class. Oh, we're going to skip this. My AI didn't say that, Aram. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. Okay. Affinity system. Yeah. So in this game, if you're playing a Warlock or if you're playing an Acolyte, you have a much higher chance to drop Acolyte bases than other bases, like a Mage base or like a Rogue base. So you can't really play an Acolyte and then farm for like a Rogue, if that makes sense, because you're just not going to drop enough items. And like you're going to get like a bunch of Acolyte idols, but you're not going to get very many Rogue idols. So I felt like if like there was a very limited amount of stuff to farm for, and especially that there was no like sense of, global crafting currency. Like there's no such concept of like a divine orb drop or like, an annulment drop or, farm 3,000 alts on this character and alt spam an item for another character. Like there's like no such concept as that in this game. So I felt that like farming a lot on one character, like after you hit 100, was kind of pointless. And I didn't really like that much. And in order to farm for like a new build, I would have to like actually, play that build, because otherwise I just wouldn't get the shards or the bases that I needed. So yeah, that's also an interesting thing to note. I think I would prefer a system where you could farm for any class on any class, but maybe that's just because I played a lot of Path of Exile. Yeah. And then there's this other thing as well, which is like this idea of like, I don't know what to call it, but like, I don't know, like maybe meta progression. Like in this game, there's like, there's like a couple of different monoliths, like 9 or 10 or so. And if you complete a monolith, you can get a blessing, which is basically a buff for your character. And every new character you make, you have to farm all the blessings again. And, your monolith completion and your blessings, like all of this is like per character. And I found this to be kind of weird because I spent a lot of time farming blessings on this character. Like I spent like many, like dozens, maybe like 100 hours just trying to get the optimal blessings. And it was very like disappointing to me that when I swapped to a new character, I lost all of it. It kind of felt like if you're playing Path of Exile and every time you started a new character, you lost all of your Atlas progression and you had to do like all your Atlas passives over again. Like it felt like that. And that didn't really feel too good for me. And it kind of made me demotivated to like make a bunch of different characters. Cause, if I made a bunch of different characters, like I would lose all my corruption that I painstakingly farmed. Corruption is like, it makes the game harder and drops better loot. So that was kind of like, disappointing to me. I think I would prefer a system where like timeline and corruption was maybe in some way shared across your different characters. Like maybe every time I farm a blessing, it gets like added to my, account blessing pool or something. And then if I create a new character, I can like use whatever blessing I want that I've already farmed. I think that'd be like a pretty good, middle ground. And then, yeah. And I guess corruption is like a different thing as well. I'm not totally sure how that would work ideally shared between characters because, corruption does make the game harder. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. So yeah, those are just like some differences, comparing Path of Exile to Last Epoch that I thought were interesting. Of course, I don't want to compare the two games directly because, Path of Exile has been out for a very long time and, Last Epoch has been out for like 5 days. So I'm not going to say like, one game is better than the other. But I think like as of now, like there's some things in Last Epoch that are kind of frustrating for me. And, the big offenders are like lack of endgame content, like, not much to do except for monoliths and like running Julra, certain skills feeling kind of clunky to use and like the movement as well. That's another thing, like the movement in this game. Like this game definitely feels a lot less like zoomy. Like the overall movement speed and clear speed in this game is a lot lower than Path of Exile. The movement skills in this game are not as strong as PoE. Your movement speed is lower, and things like turn rate and like phasing is also different. Like in this game, I think one of the things that bothered me the most about movement is like when you walk through mobs, your movement speed gets slowed for whatever reason. It's like every mob has like some special ability that's like if you walk through this mob, you get a debuff that decreases your movement speed if you like get stuck. And I thought that was really annoying. And I died a lot on bosses because of this. Like, I was trying to dodge an ability, and then suddenly there was a mob like on top of me, and I was like walking through it, which slowed my movement speed. And that made me feel like I was going insane. So, yeah. The movements, the movement in this game definitely feels kind of clunky as well. And, you know, a lot of the times, like, there's also like a subtle animation, like when you stop, like when you walk and then stop, like it's not like an instant stop. It's like it stops like over a duration of like a couple, you know, milliseconds, and it's not a major thing, but it is enough to make, you know, the gameplay feel a little like less responsive, I guess. So yeah, and I guess like the overall feel of the combat as well, I think, you know, could also be more satisfying. Like, you know, maybe have the corpses like fly off the screen or something when they die, or like have them explode in like, you know, a burst of flames. And the like the on hit like color thing that they added recently is nice. Like when you hit an enemy with necrotic damage, they turn blue, and when they die, they explode in like a blue thing, which is cool, but like I think it could use a little more like visual like candy, you know? Kind of like when you kill an enemy in Path of Exile with like Herald of Ice or something, they like explode and they shatter and they, you know, become like ice cubes, and they makes like a cool like shatter sound effect. Like that's cool. Or like when you're playing Bone Shatter and you kill a pack with the, you know, axe destroy mastery, and then the whole screen just explodes in blood, and it's like really cool. Yeah. I think the combat feel of this game could also use like a little more like, you know, visceralness, I guess. Because right now you kill a mob and it just kind of falls over and dies, and it's kind of like sad. I don't know. So yeah. Yeah, so I would say like overall, this game, you know, I think it is pretty good. Like I feel like any game that you can just like pick up and play for like, you know, 100, 200 hours is pretty decent. And I definitely had a very good time like learning this game, because I had never like played this game seriously. So it was interesting to like learn about the different dungeons and the different like systems in the game, you know, monoliths, you know, the gold sink dungeon, legendary items, legendary potential, you know, like here I got a pretty good item, 3 LP, which means I can put 3 mods on it. So, you know, it's pretty interesting to learn about like the gearing process. Of course, the in-game loot filter system is really good, and I wish Path of Exile had that as well. Um, and then the idle system can be fun as well. So like there's a lot of pretty interesting systems in this game that I thought were cool to learn, and I definitely had a good time like learning this new ARPG, taking this character to endgame, getting level 100, and doing all that stuff. And if you're like a Path of Exile player like me, or you're an ARPG player, I definitely would recommend playing this game if you haven't played it already. I think like it is fun. The novelty factor definitely is there. Uh, but I think if you're looking for like a game to main and like, you know, play for more than like 200, 250 hours, I think the game as it is right now does not quite have the, you know, the nice combat feel or the end game systems in place to be that kind of game. Unless for some reason you just really like the game, right? Like, you know, there are people out there that play this game as their main game, which I respect, but, you know, I guess what I'm saying is this is not going to turn into a Last Epoch channel. And I think this may actually be my last Epoch video until maybe next cycle. And if there's like anything interesting, I may try the game out again, maybe with a, you know, new build or something, and just see, you know, how that goes. But yeah, as for now, you know, I'm kind of a little bit sad because I kind of wanted to like make videos for Last Epoch and like stream this game until the next PoE League, but I know I didn't expect the boredom to like hit me as hard and fast as, you know, it could. So as it did. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess stay tuned for the next video. Next video will probably be, you know, Path of Exile related, whenever the new Path of Exile, stuff comes out, which I am definitely looking forward to. Hopefully Bone Shatter is not nerfed and I can make some more Bone Shatter SSF videos. Maybe League start practice Bone Shatter as well. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the last couple of Last Epoch videos. Get it? Last couple of Last Epoch. Sorry. But yeah. I'll probably see you guys next league for Path of Exile. Yep.